So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN. From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN. From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports.
Good evening, this is ATN Global News at 9. First, the headlines. Court affirms Duri as Bayelsa State Governor. Senate plans Electoral Commission for LGAs. FG begins student loan disbursement. President Tinubu approves 70,000 naira for workers. Kenyan please ban protests in central Nairobi. Dele Bashir signs 2-year contract at Watford. Yemi Alade decries controversies in entertainment industry. And now the news in detail. Analyst says federal government food distribution across states of the Federation was inadequate. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network program Blowout, a social-political analyst, Ekie, while lauding the federal government, says that the food distribution is inadequate compared to the existing population.
Thank Mr. President. This is not the first time that he's distributing food as a relief material for Nigerians. I'm aware sometimes in December, January, he equally did the same, and we thank him very much. But I would like to encourage that, first of all, the population of Rivers State is beyond 5 million. And if you give 21,000 plus, even if you give 30,000 bags of rice, indirectly you are saying that a minority of Rivers people should have that rice for now.
Eke warns against political sentiment in the distribution of the items.
Now, the governor, through the secretary to government, have said that committees has been set up to evenly distribute these materials, these resources, these food items to the common people at the grassroots. I would like to appeal, first of all, that this distribution should not be made on political consideration, on party line, or on factional line, because we are aware there is relatively factionization in.
This is coming after the federal government dispatched 20 trucks of rice to each of the 36 states of the Federation and Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, adding that the new move was part of measures to ease the economic burden on Nigerians. Abuja Division of the Court of Appeal has affirmed the decision of the Bayelsa State Governorship Election Tribunal, which upheld the November 11, 2023 re-election of Bayelsa State Governor Duri. A 3-man panel of the appellate court in the unanimous judgment dismissed an appeal seeking to set aside and dismiss the decision of the tribunal, while the Justice Adekunle Adeleye-led 3-member tribunal had on May 27 dismissed as lacking in merit the petition filed against Governor Duri re-election by the APC and its candidates. The Abuja division of the Court of Appeal on Thursday affirmed the decision of the Bayelsa State Governorship Election Tribunal, which had upheld the November 11, 2023 re-election of Governor Doidiri of Bayelsa State. The tribunal held that the petitioners failed to adduce any credible evidence of substantiate any of the allegations. They raised against the outcome of the governorship poll, while the instant appeal was filed by the All Progressives Congress and its governorship candidate Imipre Silva. The panel held that the appeal was incompetent and constituted an abuse of the court process, lacking in merit and consequently liable for dismissal, adding that there was no cogent proof founded on law to quash the earlier judgment of the Bayelsa State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed a suit seeking the disqualification of Asuibo Dalo as the candidate of the People's Democratic Party for the September 21 governorship election in Edo State. Justice James Omotosho declares that the suit filed by the impeached Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shuaibu lacked merit. Shuaibu and others had in a suit asked the court to disqualify Ighodalo over an allegation that he forged his voter card, while in his judgment, Justice Omotosho declared that the suit was statute-barred and, being a pre-election case, was filed outside the 14 days allowed under Section 285, subsection 9 of the Constitution. The judge also held that though the forgery or non-possession of a voter card was grounds for disqualification under Section 182 of the Constitution, the plaintiff failed to prove their allegation that Ighodalo forged his voter card, adding that the verdict comes about 2 weeks after Justice Inyang Ekwo of the same Federal High Court in Abuja nullified the February 22 PDP governorship election in Edo State that produced Ighodalo as the party's flag bearer for the September 21 governorship poll. The judge ruled that the primary was nullified because of the illegal exclusion of 378 delegates who should have participated in the direct primary held at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin. But the PDP had since appealed the judgment and expressed optimism that Ighodalo would not only participate in the poll but would also coast home in victory. Cross River State Governor Basio II has read the Riot Act expatriate workers over the continual importation of assorted weapons into the state, which had become a huge security risk for the people of the state. He called for the documentation of the profiles of all the expatriates working with indigenous and foreign companies in the state. The governor spoke at the 6th meeting of the State Executive Council, where he charged cabinet members to sit up and become proactive and threatened to revoke operational licenses and closure of companies whose expatriates are identified to be involved in arms smuggling. He also used the opportunity to direct the enforcement of corporate social responsibility by all companies in the state, adding that there have been allegations that big-time miners and firms in the state work with armed militaries, leading to proliferation of small arms in the state. About 11 passengers have been kidnapped at the Amechi-Dodo axis of the Enugu-Abakaliki Federal Highway. The suspected hoodlums are demanding 30 million naira to free the victims, which include tertiary institution students adopted on Tuesday while returning to Abakaliki, the Ebonyi state capital. Eyewitnesses said that they had left Awka, Anambra state capital before they were intercepted by the heavily armed men at the notorious Amechi-Dodo area of Nkanu East local government area of Enugu State. The Enugu State Police Command is yet to make any statement on the incident. Following last week's Supreme Court judgment granting local government autonomy, about 401 chairmen and members of the caretaker committees running the 62 local governments and councils development areas in Osun State tendered their resignations. The caretaker chairman of Odo Otin local government area, Okuku Adewale Adeyinka, said he quit office out of respect for democratic principles, adding that his resignation letter dated July 17 2024, was addressed to Governor Ademola Adeleke. The Supreme Court had, in its judgment, barred the governors from appointing caretaker committees to run local governments, while the Apex Court said only duly elected officials can run local government, adding that any local government being run by caretakers should have their allocation from the federal account withheld. In Osun State, there were 30 local government areas with 32 local council development authorities and 6 area councils and 1 administrative office after the last set of caretaker committee chairmen and members were appointed by Adeleke in August 2023, and their tenure of office was extended by 6 months in February 2024. Their tenure was supposed to end in August, but they tendered their resignation prematurely, while the Osun State Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Kolapo Alimi, also confirmed the resignation of local government caretakers. Analyst says the lingering school fees hike across the country is an indirect way of depriving the less privileged from education. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network program Society Watch, a public affairs analyst, James Martins, decried disappointment on the federal government in its inability to foresee the pending danger, especially in the educational sector across the country.
This whole hike thing is discriminating the poor. And we know that unfortunately Nigeria has become the poverty headquarter of the world. We have more poor people here, even than India, that has 5 times more people in terms of population than us. So this is absolute discrimination. There are families that cannot afford 1,000 naira a day. There's a big poverty in Nigeria. So let's say such a family is able to put resources together by whatever means they have to send somebody to school in the hope that when this person comes out of school and maybe gets a job or becomes an entrepreneur, the person will be able to transform the family's economy. And all of a sudden, there's this kind of hike.
This is coming after thousands of students of the University of Ibadan, Oyo State, staged a protest on a hike in school fees and a power outage at the school. Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has dismissed an appeal by suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police DCP Abba Kyari, requesting that the alleged unlawful drug deal charge against him be dropped. Kyari had filed an appeal against the March 22 ruling by Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, in which he declined to quash the charge against the suspended police boss, challenged the jurisdiction of the court to try him and 4 others serving police personnel when they were yet to be subjected to the internal disciplinary mechanisms of the Nigeria Police Force. Justice Nwite held that the powers of the Police Service Commission do not supersede the powers of the Federal High Court, adding that 3-member panel of the Appellate Court on Thursday agreed the ruling and dismissed Kyari's appeal for being unfounded. In the lead judgment, Justice Adebukola Banjoko held that there were no reasons to tamper with the ruling Justice Nwite delivered on March 22, 2023, stressing that the appeal is found unmeritorious and it is accordingly dismissed. Justice Peter Obiora and Okon Abang, who were on the appeal on the panel, agreed that the lead judgment, also accused of dealing in cocaine without lawful authority, conspiracy to tamper with cocaine, and unlawfully tampering with 21.35 kg of cocaine seized from 2 convicted drug dealers. Zamfara State Attorney General Commissioner of Justice Abdulaziz Sani has secured the conviction of 5 criminals under banditry-related charges in the state. The State Attorney General said one of the convicts was sentenced to death while others were sentenced to years imprisonment. The Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice also pointed out that Executive Order number 07 restricting motorcycles in the state from moving at night was enacted due to the incessant attacks, adoption of people for ransom and killing of innocent citizens by terror groups, and was aimed to stop the menace. He urged the residents to give total support and cooperation to the state government to succeed in tackling the ravaging insecurity and to restore peace and normalcy to the state. Sani also said mobile court has been established to try offenders of Executive Order number 07, which restricts the movement of motorcycles from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Katsina State Governor Diko Radda has reshuffled the State Executive Council. This is coming barely a few hours into his one-month vacation due to start from July 18 to August 18, 2024. A statement signed by the governor's chief press secretary, Ibrahim Mohammed, said the strategic reorganization aims to optimize the performance of the state government and ensure the effective delivery of services to the people of Katsina State. The commissioners and their new portfolios are Dr. Bashir Saulawa for Ministry of Water Resources, Hadiza Yaradua for Ministry of Women Affairs, Zainab Musawa, Ministry of Education, while Hamza Faskari is the Ministry of Environment, as well as others. Nigerian military has recovered large cache of arms and ammunition during a follow-up on operations carried out by 3 Division Operation Safe Haven at the Fan District in Barkin Ladi of Plateau State. This was disclosed on the X by Major S.N. Zakom, Military Information Officer Operation Safe Haven, in a statement, said a tactical team from the Division Operation Safe Haven was attacked on July 10, 2024, while conducting an operation to recover arms from a gun runners hideout in Sangasa village, Fan District, Bakin Ladi, local government area of Plateau State. Zakom said Assistant Superintendent of Immigration C.L. Agwam was tragically killed by the criminals during the operation, while the troops responded immediately by conducting a follow-up operation in the district, targeting the recovery of illegal arms, ammunition and other dangerous weapons in line with the core mandate of the operation. Over the course of the week, 8 suspects were arrested and a substantial cache of weapons was recovered from Rataso and Sangasa village in Fan District, while Zakom said the significant recovery of arms and ammunition and military uniforms from Fan District proves that the area has become a criminal enclave, adding that miscreants and other misguided persons have propagated false information to divert attention from the large cache of weapons held by unauthorized persons in the district. He also said Operation Safe Haven remains committed to mopping out illegal arms and ammunition within the joint operations area and appeal to anyone with useful information on the whereabouts of the suspects to contact nearest security outpost. Kano State's Governor Abba Yusuf has expressed shock over a fire incident that led to the death of the daughter and 2 siblings of Commissioner for Higher Education, Yusuf Kofamata. This is coming after the fire incident occurred on Tuesday night, which claimed the lives of the Commissioner's daughter, Maimuna, his senior sister, Hajia Khadija, and the wife of his brother, Hajia Juwairia. Governor Yusuf, who led members of the State Executive Council and other dignitaries to the funeral rites, which took place at Kofa Mata quarters in Kano, described it as an unfortunate incident that led to the loss of 3 innocent citizens of the state and property of huge value. Upper Sharia's Court in Kano State has fixed August 1 to deliver judgments in a suit filed against Shafiu Abubakar, who was charged with setting a mosque on fire and killing 23 people. Abubakar, who lives in Gezawa local government area of Kano State, is charged with culpable homicide, attempted murder, causing grievous hurt and mischief by fire, adding that the offences contravenes the provision of sections 140, 148, 167 and 370 of Kano State Sharia's Panel Code Law 2000. Earlier, the Prosecution Council Director, Public Prosecution, Kano State Ministry of Justice, Salisu Tahir, informed the court that he filed a new charge against the defendant and urged the new charge to be read to the defendant. Tahir alleged that on May 15, the defendant poured petrol and set fire on a mosque in Gadan, Laraba, Abasawa village in Gezawa local government area of Kano State and locked the doors, trapping 23 worshippers in a burning fire during Subhi prayers. And 23 people died while receiving medical attention at the Murtala Mohammed Specialist Hospital in Kano, and alleged that the defendant attempted to kill Shuaibu Ibrahim and Ibrahim Sani and pleaded guilty to all the charges. The defense counsel, Hasia Mohammed Imam, urged the court to temper justice with mercy, since the defendant did not stress the courts because he admitted to the crime, while the presiding judge, Malam Halhalatu Zakaria, says the defendant, if he was in his right senses when he took the guilty plea. The judge adjourned the matter till August 1 and August 2 for judgments in the second and third charge and continuation of hearing. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back right after this break. Please stay with us.
We just vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Roads so no day. Light outside. The infrastructure it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
Their behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I supposed to pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. Why we don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akin Fadayi Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Welcome back. This is still the global news on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of the stories. President Bola Tinubu approves the appointment of Didi Wilson Jack as head of Civil Service of the Federation with effect from August 14, 2024. Wilson Jack's appointment was announced in a statement by Tinubu's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, said she succeeds Dr. Folashade Yemieson, who retires from service on August 13, 2024. Tasked the incoming head of service to discharge her duties with innovative flair, integrity, and stringent adherence to the excellent rules and regulations of Civil Service of Federation. Bill seeking to establish a federal agency for the conduct of local government elections has scaled first reading at the Senate. The bill, titled Local Government Independent Electoral Commission Bill 2024, was sponsored by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa. The bill passed the first reading during plenary session. House of Representatives has resolved to support the federal government with 648 million naira for 6 months by slashing their salaries by 50% to support food sufficiency across the country and to address the high cost of food. This followed the adoption of an amendment to a motions prior moved by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Okezie Kalu, on the need for lawmakers to sacrifice 50% of their 600,000 naira monthly salary to support Nigerians given the hardship in the land. Kalu's amended prayer was to a motion moved by Ibrahim Isiaka from Ogun State, appealing to proponents on the planned nationwide protest to abandon the idea and engage the government in dialogue. The Deputy Speaker said the salary cut is to be used to support the federal government's efforts to address the rising cost of food in the country with the view to ameliorate the hardship Nigerians are going through, while the lawmakers also begged Nigerians to exercise more patience with President Ahmed Tinubu's led administration in addressing challenges and hardship faced by citizens. The motion was adopted and referred to the Committees of Humanitarian Affairs, Finance and Budget for compliance. Managing Director of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, Dr. Akintunde Sawyer, says the federal government has commenced student loan disbursement to students of higher institutions based in Nigeria. Sawyer disclosed this this when he briefed State House correspondents after the launch of the disbursement of the loans to applicants by President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa Abuja, adding that more students from the north applied for the loans owing to better coordination by tertiary institutions in the region. He assured Nigerians that the early uncertainty would disperse after more loans are disbursed, adding that NEL Fund was playing its part to raise awareness in the south, so students in the region that would embrace the scheme were when disbursement begins. He also revealed that the more university students had applied for loans than students of polytechnics and colleges of education, stressing that students of private institutions were excluded from the scheme because they charge more expensive school fees, adding that if the government funded private university students, it would not meet the expectation of the initiative. He also affirmed that the loan scheme would have a positive impact on many lives in the country. Brave states comprising Bayelsa Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Edo and Delta states have finalized plans to adopt the key components in Benin Declaration to transform the civil and public service in the region. This is coming after the Brave Commission, in partnership with Edo State Government, hosted a pivotal strategy retreat for all heads of service at the Brave states at the John Idige Oyegun Public Service Academy. The strategy retreat themed leadership in public sector, strengthening public institutions, brought together heads of service from all South states, and at the end of the retreat, participants drafted and signed the Benin Declaration, a comprehensive roadmap to public services in the Brave states over the next 3 years. In a document, Director General of the John Odige Oyegun Public Service in Muahen Adjonu said the Brave states heads of service had shown commitments to the transformative initiative agreed at the retreat, adding that the key elements in the document are digital literacy and paperless operations, which was to ensure that the civil and public services in the region will be digitalized, transitioning to paperless operations to enhance efficiency and transparency. According to Adjono, the adoption of the Benin Declaration signifies a new era for public service in the South-South region, as well as the commitment to innovation, digital transformation and capacity building that sets a high standard for excellence in public service delivery. Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, says the federal government is planning a new curriculum for secondary schools nationwide by September 2024. Tahir made this known at the ongoing 2024 Joint Admission and Matriculations Board policy meeting in Abuja, adding that the exercise has been on for the past year and a stakeholders meeting will be held on August 6, 2024. This is coming after the National Senior Secondary School Education Commission decried the deplorable state of senior secondary schools in the country and called for collaboration to overcome some of the challenges bedeviling the secondary level of education in the country. The Commission listed some of the challenges confronting the sector, including infrastructural deficit, unqualified teachers, obsolete curriculum, and deplorable libraries and laboratories, also noting that plans were ongoing to introduce a new curriculum. Minister of Education Tahir Maman has reversed the ban on admission seekers into tertiary institutions who are less than 18 years old. The ban was reversed following strong protests by vice-chancellors and other stakeholders on Thursday at the 2024 Joint Admission and Matriculation Board JAM policy meeting in Abuja. It was, however, agreed that the policy would come into enforcement at a future date set to be determined, while the stakeholders agreed that candidates who are 16 years old would be considered for admission into tertiary institutions for the 2024 academic year. However, the entry age will be 18 years from the next academic year. This is coming after Professor Mann had earlier during the meeting on Thursday declared that candidates below the age of 18 would no longer be granted admission to tertiary institutions in Nigeria, adding that the decision is in line with Nigeria's law, which prohibits the admission of underage students to tertiary institutions. He said no one should recommend anyone less than 18 years old for admission, stressing that the guideline must be strictly followed. Stakeholders in the education sector had set the minimum benchmark score for admission into universities at 140. This decision was made at the ongoing policy meeting held on Thursday in Abuja. The Registrar of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAM, Professor Ishak Oloyede, clarifies that the benchmark score is not a uniform cut-off mark for all universities, but represents the lowest score for any university can consider for admission, stressing that JAMB does not set cut-off marks, but a minimum benchmark score that any university cannot go below, even though different universities have their benchmark scores. This is coming after various institutions have submitted their minimum benchmark scores to JAMB, and amongst these Pan-Atlantic University in Lagos, Covenant University in Ogun State, Obafemi Awolowo University in Osun State, and the University of Lagos were the only universities that recommended a minimum score of 200 and above. Olorede also cautioned Nigerians against misinformation regarding JAMB's role in setting cut-off marks, stating the distinction between the minimum benchmark and individual university cut-off marks. Leadership of the Labour Party has condemned the removal of Senator Ali Ndume as the chief whip of the Senate and immediately replaced by the senator representing Borno North, Dahiru Monguno. Ndume's replacement by the Senate followed a directive issued to that effect in a letter written by the national chairman of the party, Umar Ganduje, and national secretary, Senator Bashiru Ajibola, after the request was put to voice votes by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and loudly affirmed by the APC senators. Reacting to the development in a statement issued in Abuja, National Publicity Secretary of Labour Party, Obiora Ifo, expressed concerns that speaking truth to power is gradually becoming a crime in the country, stressing that the humiliation of Ndume by the Akpabio-led Senate has portrayed the dictatorial inclination of the ruling All Progressives Congress. He said the crime of Senator Ndume was his bold expression of his concerns regarding the escalating cost of living and food scarcity in Nigeria, and his revelation that President Bola Tinubu has chosen to play the ostrich even in face-to-face acute starvation being witnessed in Nigeria. 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, says Tinubu's administration has turned the National Assembly, especially the Senate, into a puppet. This is in line of the recent removal of Senator Ali Ndume as Senate Whip and a suspension from the All Progressives Congress, and Atiku, who condemned the action in a statement via his official X handle, said members of the Senate should not be reprimanded for performing their statutory duty of calling the executive to order. According to the former vice president, the legislative arm of the government was conceived as a means of protecting the people from the authoritarian tendencies of wielding of state powers, making sure that the executive does not go overboard in the application of the powers, adding that the current administration of President Bola Tinubu has become an anathema to the general principle of democracy as providing primary protection for the people against executive excesses. The PDP chieftain also recalled that when Senator Abdul Ningi spoke about the incident of budget pardon in 2024 appropriation bill, rather than calling for a thorough investigation into the observation, the reaction of the Senate was to hand him a suspension and called for an end to the unholy alliance between the executive and the legislature, which may lead to a dictatorship which will worsen the lot of the people. Analysts say Senate in the National Assembly is not an extension of the All Progressive Congress in view of the decision of the Senate sacking its chief whip, Ali Ndume. Speaking on Atlantic Television Network program, Open Conversation, a political analyst, Gifton Jamala, says the current political system in the country is heading towards corruption and insincerity amongst public office holders.
And if the president cannot hear from Senator Ndume, rather, he's being punished, in quote, because I do not see removing him as the chief whip of the house, so that it affect his own integrity and personality. Thank God it was not removed because he was seen somewhere in the shopping mall, maybe harassing innocent citizens, or maybe in the commission of a crime, because he spoke the truth. What was so wrong about it?
Meanwhile, Jamala advised politicians to be selfless and transparent.
Is that criticism or revealing, when you reveal the obvious truth, will you call that criticism? I do not see that to be a criticism. If you're not aware of the truth and maybe I have the privilege of informing you what the truth is, that is not criticism. And so for me, Ndume, should stand up tall.
This is coming after the Senate on Wednesday sacked his chief whip, Ali Ndume, for criticizing President Bola Tinubu's administration. The upper chamber replaced Ndume, a member of All Progressives Congress representing Borno South and Toro District, with Tahiru Monguno representing Borno State North. Group of alleged People's Democratic Party women have staged a protest at the PDP National Secretariat, accusing the party's National Working Committee of neglecting members and exploiting them. The protest followed a meeting called by the NWC, which failed to materialize as no member of the committee attended, while junior staff were sent to represent them, leading the women to feel ridiculed and disrespect. A statement released on X.com on Thursday, the concerned PDP women group expressed their frustration and disappointment with the NWC's behavior and accused the committee of intimidation, exploitation, and anti-people actions. The women also said they will not meet the NWC again and are willing to pay the price for liberation, even with their lives, and urged the party to undertake a national convention as a matter of urgency, warning that the things will only get worse if action is not taken. President Bola Tinubu has approved 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage for Nigerian workers, with a promise to review the national minimum wage law every 3 years. This is coming after the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress met with the president at the presidential villa, Abuja, on Thursday. The special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, in a statement on X, confirmed the development. Onanuga said Labour leaders praised President Tinubu's fatherly gesture, and the president also vowed to exercise his executive discretion to address the outstanding 4-month salaries owed to university unions. President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, on Thursday gave reasons why the organized Labour accepted the proposal of 70,000 naira minimum wage for the president from the president, Bola Tinubu, adding that the union agreed to the offer because of their incentives attached. Tinubu announced the new minimum wage during a meeting with the leadership of the organized Labour in Abuja on Thursday's meeting, which came a week after the first meeting with the president had with Labour leaders last week. The new minimum wage, when approved by the National Assembly, will replace the 30,000 naira minimum wage, which expired on April 18, 2024. Nigeria Labour Congress on Thursday issued a note of warning to the federal government over the withheld salaries of the Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities and Allied Institutions. A statement by its head of public affairs, Benson Upa, said the government will court a nationwide protest if it fails to heed its warnings. The NLC also probed the Commissioner of Police, FCT, Bennett Igwe, over the alleged alleged harassment of protesting university workers. This is coming after the police on Thursday stopped the Joint Action Committee of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Allied Institutions from embarking on protests in Abuja, while the leadership of JAC addressed members for the protest for onward movement to the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Labour and Employment, where they are to present letters to the ministers. The FCT Commissioner of Police, Bennett Igwe, who confirmed or who stormed the Unity Fountain and warned that there would be no protest. Consequently, the police urged an armored vehicle and a Hilux van to block the entry and exit gates to stop the protest. And despite all entreaties made by the police, by the leadership of the two unions, could not persuade them to allow the aggrieved members to proceed with the protest rally, and some of the non-teaching staff members had wanted to revolt against the police directive, but they were calmed down by their leaders not to do anything that could lead to violence. Federal government plans to implement a 50% tax on the profits banks earned from the foreign exchange revaluation in 2023 to fund an increase in workers' minimum wage. This is coming after President Bola Tinubu submitted proposed changes to 2023 Finance Act to the National Assembly for approval. And All Progressives Congress member Imran Mohammed, who disclosed this in a post, said federal government plans to implement a 50% tax on the profit banks earned from foreign exchange revaluation in 2023 to fund an increase in workers' minimum wage, and the tax would be used to fund supplementary budget, which includes 3 trillion naira recurrent expenditure and 3.2 trillion naira capital expenditure. The 3 trillion naira recurrent expenditure is expected to tackle the country's minimum wage impasse. Recall that on June 14, 2023, the Central Bank of Nigeria flouted the naira at the foreign exchange market, which led to the devaluation of the country's currency. Ex-agitators in the Niger Delta region are planning a massive protest against the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, for allegedly abandoning the East-West Road project. One of the leaders of ex-agitators in the Niger Delta, Asaya B. Asaya, said in a statement he issued on Thursday that all was set to storm the road for what he described as a mother-of-all protest, and hundreds of youth had agreed to partake in the protest, which he said would last for days, to call the federal government's attention to the urgency of fixing the road. He described the road as a death trap, saying that commuters and drivers spend days at a particular deplorable section of the road before getting to their destination, adding that the trucks and other vehicles were trapped on the road between Bayelsa and River State, and wondered why Umahi would maintain deaf ears despite the outcries of the people. He blamed the development on the minister, saying he engaged inexperienced contractors to work on the road, and called on all relevant groups and leaders of Niger Delta, such as the Ijaw National Congress, INC, Ijaw Youth Council, the Movement of the Survival of Ijaw Ethnic Nationality, signed the Ijaw Elders Forum, as well as Dr. Goodluck Jonathan and others to join the protest. He also urged E.K. Clark, the governor of Bayelsa State, Doyodiri, whom he said had started the protest, as well as former Governor Sereke Dixon and River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, to identify with the demonstration. Federal government has received $751.8 million out of the recently approved $1.5 billion loan by the World Bank. The loan under the Nigeria Reforms of Economic Stabilization to Enable Transformation Development Policy Financing Program project was disbursed on June 28, 2024. Documents from the Global Financial Institution. This loan project is a part of the broader $2.3 billion approved by the World Bank for Nigeria on June 13, 2024 to bolster Nigeria's economic stability and support its vulnerable populations, and the proposed DPF for Nigeria consists of the standalone operation with 2 tranches designed to support significant reforms in alignment with the government's economic stabilization and recovery priorities. This operation is structured around 4 key results distributed across 2 pillars, which include increasing fiscal oil revenues from 1.8% of gross domestic product in 2022 to 2.7% by 2025, boosting non-oil fiscal revenues from 5.3% to 7.3% over the same period, as well as expanding social safety nets to assist 67 million vulnerable Nigerians and raising the import value of previously banned products from $11.3 million to $54.6 million by 2025. The Federal Ministry of Finance is tasked with implementation to these reforms, working under the oversight of the World Bank, which collaborates with other key national stakeholders such as the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation to monitor and assess the progress and impact of these reforms, and the World Bank will provide supervision and support throughout the implementation process, ensuring that the operations goals are met efficiently and effectively. Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria is urgently calling on President Tinubu's stimulus package intervention to National Broadcasting Commission licensed and active broadcast media houses to prevent a scenario where most Nigerian radio and TV stations might shut down, leaving Nigerians reliant on social media for information, with potentially damaging consequences for our nation. Senior High Chief Tony Akiotu, who presided as the chairman of the 79th General Assembly, disclosed this at the Homeview Plus Hotel in Benin, Edo State, in a press conference on the Bond Communique, and appeals to the Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) to suspend the implementation of the NBC Code in respect to 2.5% levy gross earnings of radio and televisions in view the very bad economic climate in the country, and call on the NBC to stop unlicensed foreign media channels and clients and advertising agencies. He said the development was eating deep into the production and airing of Nigerian adverts on Nigerian paid TV platforms, thereby denying the distressed local stations the much-needed revenues to breathe. He urged industry stakeholders and regulators collaborating in addressing industry challenges such as regulatory frameworks, digital transformation, advertising, audience engagement, training, and sustainability. Federal government has launched the National Clean Tech Innovation Entrepreneurship Ecosystem, an initiative aimed at fostering innovation and supporting startups and SMEs in the country. Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Chief Uche Naji, in a statement on Thursday, said the focus on building institutional capacity, promoting global collaborations, and developing robust policies and regulations was aimed at ensuring gender and youth inclusion, aligned with President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. He said the component aims to enhance and connect the institutional capacity of CIEE participants, develop policies, promote collaboration, agencies, project partners, financial institutions, as well as the private sector incubation hubs, civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, tertiary institutions, in fostering a supportive ecosystem for clean tech enterprises, while citing the achievements of Nigerian SMEs in winning international awards, demonstrating the country's potential in this field. He expressed appreciation for the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology's efforts to enhance clean tech development in Nigeria and reaffirmed UNIDO's commitment to promoting inclusive and sustainable industrial growth. You're still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. Kenyan police had banned anti-government protests in the central business district and its environs in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, for safety concerns. According to the police, more than 50 people have been killed, dozens of others injured and property destroyed. Kanja, the authorities received credible intelligence that organized criminal groups were planning to take advantage of the ongoing anti-government protests to execute criminal activities. He said the lack of a clear leader, mostly among the youth protesters, had made it difficult for the police to enforce safety protocols on armed to assemble to picket and to demonstrate and to present petitions to public authorities, while the same constitution provides the critical role that the police plays in the national security of the country. The ban came after traders and business owners suffered major losses after their businesses were looted by those who had infiltrated the protests across the country. South Korea Supreme Court has recognized new rights for same-sex couples, and they must provide health insurance for a gay man's partner in a landmark ruling that left activists weeping for joy. The verdict, which cannot be appealed as it comes from the country's highest court, means common law spouses of the same sex can now register as dependents on their partner's health insurance, adding that the discrimination is based on sexual orientation to exclude the couple just because they are same sex. In 2021, the National Health Insurance Service, because it terminated benefits for his partner, had registered as a dependent, and after discovering they were a gay couple. In a landmark ruling last year, the Seoul High Court found in favor of the couple, mandating that the NHIS reinstates the dependent benefits, which grants spousal coverage benefits to common law partners, appealed the decision, escalating the case of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's ruling is a pivotal moment for the country's LGBTQI community, and people holding rainbow umbrellas walked out of the court, weeping away tears of joy. Hundreds of Disneyland Resort employees protested outside the world-famous California theme parks, are calling for better wages and denouncing alleged anti-union practices by the company ahead of the looming strike vote. Disney has been in negotiations since April with the 4 California unions representing its park employees, and talks have so far yielded nothing, and unions accuse the so-called happiest place in the world of intimidating employees. Disney is claimed to have reprimanded and issued warnings to more than 500 employees for wearing a union pin featuring an image of Mickey Mouse's glove clenched in the shape of a fist, and the allegations have prompted an investigation by the National Labor Relations Board. U.S. President Joe Biden has extended his student loan forgiveness program by canceling the loans of an additional 35,000 Americans as he seeks re-election. The latest move is amounting to $1.2 billion if student debt, which brings to 4.7 million the number of people who benefited from in his words, the number of people who benefited from our various debt relief actions, and the borrowers who will get an average of $35,000 in debt cancellation include teachers, nurses, police officials, and first responders. The announcement came on the first day of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where Donald Trump will accept the Republican nomination for the November election, and President Biden vowed never stop working to make higher education affordable, and no matter how many times Republican elected officials try to stop them. Earlier this year, Biden unveiled fresh plans to reduce student loan debt for tens of millions of Americans in his bid to win over young voters, and that was after the conservative-dominated U.S. Supreme Court last year struck down the Democrats' earlier proposal to cancel several hundreds of billions of dollars of debt. Last month, it cancelled debt owed by 160,000 people, while earlier this year, it cancelled student debt relief of 150,000 others. 16 people have died in China after a fire incident at a shopping center. The incident occurred at the shopping mall in the southwestern Chinese city of Zigong. It had not been determined by press time what caused the fire or how many people were in the building when the fire broke out in the building, which houses a department store, offices, restaurants and a movie theater. Videos have shown clouds of thick black smoke coming out of windows from lower levels and engulfing the entire 14-story building as firefighters fought hard using water sprays and drones. This is coming after China had, by May this year, reported 947 fire fatalities, different from 19% from the same period of the previous year, while spokesperson from the National Fire and Rescue Administration, Li Wangpeng, said fires in public places, such as hotels and restaurants, rose 40% and most of the incidents resulted from electrical faults. Now in ATN Sports News, former Super Eagles coach Sunday Olise has named Manchester City midfielder Rodri to win the 2024 Ballon d'Or award. Real Madrid duo of Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham appear to be front-runners for the prize after they won the La Liga and Champions League titles. However, the debate has changed from the Euros and Copa America this summer, and Rodri put up solid performances as Spain emerged champions of Europe, while Lionel Messi led Argentina to their second consecutive Copa America trophy. The Ballon d'Or Awards ceremony takes place later in October. Sky-backed Championship club Watford says Tom Dele-Bashiru has put pen to paper on a new contract. Dele-Bashiru signed a 2-year contract with the option of another year and arrived at the Vicarage in 2019 after leaving Manchester City. The midfielder struggled to break into the first team in his first season at the club, while ACL injury unfortunately cut his season short during the early part of 2020-2021. Dele-Bashiru, however, regained top form last season, proving his versatility by also playing at a right back and scored 3 goals in 38 leagues for his Hornets. Former England star Joy Barton says his country could have won the Euros 2024 championship with Mason Greenwood in the team. Greenwood is set to leave Manchester United for League One side. He is set to undergo a medical ahead of the 30 million euros move to the French League One outfit, where he will sign a 5-year contract. Barton, who spent several years playing for Marseille, has hailed the move, was acquitted after key witnesses withdrew from the case of sexual harassment he was accused of. Next is entertainment news. Popular singer Yemi Alade is not particularly happy with the controversies in the entertainment industry. Speaking on the sideline of a new album, Rebel Queen, listening party in the Lagos recently, Alade explains that she handles negative criticism by simply ignoring them. She said in her words, and I quote, I don't think about negative criticisms, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. Nigeria's singer Divine Ikubo, aka Rema, has explained his decision to switch his sound for his recently released Safomo Haze. This is coming after there had been a heavy infiltration of sounds. This could not afford watering Afrobeats down until they start losing grip of it. At his album listening party in London recently, Rema also called on Nigerian artists to reclaim their ownership of Afrobeats. Nigerian actress Ini Dima Okoje says fibroid tumors